All right, now that we know the NBA is rigged, next we move on to the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, this is sports entertainment. This is sports entertainment. Now that we know this, it's time to move on to some bigger topics. The NFL trade deadline. What do you think the Lions are going to do? Also, are the Red Wings for real? Are you buying the hot start? Are you buying the youth movement? I think I am. We're going to talk about that. The Pistons, I don't know where to begin with the Pistons. I had to bring out the jersey in honor of the season starting. But if you look at the sample size of what we just watched in the last couple of games, what does this say about this team and the Tigers? I'm glad we're not in the World Series because I'm not staying up for 18 innings. But stick around, like and subscribe. I'm Mark. This is the Detroit Fan Forum. Thanks for joining. Let's get this thing going. All right, so I brought up the whole concept of the NBA being rigged. Obviously, it's not. It's not scripted. Sports aren't scripted. However, though, let's be honest, guys, they're heavily guided. What you're seeing with the Chauncey Billups, the Terry Rozier, the gambling scandal in the NBA, it's nothing more than hypocrisy at its finest, right? We know these athletes are and have been, and we don't have to get into the moral argument of should they at that moment have done this, but have manipulated games since the 1919 World Series. It's no surprise, right? It's just us as fans, we need to really table our expectations. So if you're a former wrestling fan, think of 90s wrestling, right? I'm almost 40 years old. There was a point in time where I believed in The Undertaker. I believed in Stone Cold Steve Austin. I thought the Macho Man Macho Man really kind of lived that life, but you get where I'm headed, right? And there's that moment that fourth wall is broken, right? It's called breaking kayfabe in wrestling. Guys, we're seeing kayfabe being broken right now in professional sports. The media is harder to control, obviously, with athletes having podcasts, but not even current athletes. You've got former athletes having podcasts. Those are the ones that really don't have a lot to lose. Excuse me, the ones that don't have the sponsorships deals, the ones still aren't making their M's and M's, their monies and memories in the league. So pay attention to all that. I'm not here to lecture you on it. I'm not here to convince you elsewise. But when DraftKings is your number one sponsor, start thinking to yourself, okay, what did this whole gambling thing do? What law did they break? They just didn't pay taxes. That's really what it comes down to. So not going to get into that too much, but think about that, right? You guys, all kidding aside, I don't blame some of these athletes, right? For skewing the game in their situation. I blame the league for allowing it to happen. I blame guys like David Stern, who looks like a mob boss now, right? He looks like he was one of those old school Sicilian mob bosses where he just looked like a sweet old man, but deep down inside, he controlled the hearts and pockets of everybody. Because David Stern, man, he navigated the 90s pretty well with all the gambling and the Michael Jordan and all that stuff, right? But Adam Silver, who are you? If the league is ran by elitist aliens, what kind of alien are you, brother? Because you don't seem to have a control over your NBA. There are now script writers that have been leaking things out, and this whole gambling thing is a total distraction. You're serving up Chauncey Billups? Come on now. So anyways, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, then I talked about it, but food for thought. But really the big conversation I see right now in sports, in Detroit sports, is we have an opportunity right now with this coming out of this bye week with the Lions is kind of wiping the slate clean. That emotional ride that we had in Kansas City, we now have to kind of put the nail in the coffin on that. I messed around with a lot of Kansas City fans online and gave them a hard time. And we got into a back and forth on TikTok that I think got 10,000 likes and views. And they are a very soft fan base. Like, I get it. You're Kansas City. Nobody else really comes there. You don't really have a lot to lean on. But dude, you're like dynasty level right now with your Super Bowls. Act like the Patriots fans did. At least they had some balls. Like, they believed in their team undeniably, and they didn't let it waver them, right? If Mahomes is anything like Brady, then why are you so defensive if you know you're not getting the script writers favoring you, right? There's a recent game past week where Mahomes gets tossed down to the ground, right? And there's 100 of them. I don't even want to bring this clip up because there's 100 clips of Pat Mahomes getting treated like a normal quarterback and having a flag called on him. And there's 100 calls and plays where you see a guy like Jared Goff getting demolished way after the play and nothing happening. So you want to get an NFL script writing, they're just better at it. They really are. Maybe it's all the CTE and their players forget, but the NFL is better at script writing. Roger Goodell, you may be a Nordic. That's what you are. You're a strong leader of the galaxy because you run a billion-dollar industry that just keeps growing. It doesn't matter what happens. You can boo Roger Goodell all you want, but guys, the NFL is something fun that we watch on every Sunday, and it's addicting. It's the leader behind all sports outside of soccer in Europe, right? It's a powerhouse. It's a juggernaut. It's no one will be able to touch the NFL for a long time, right? So it's just such a billion-dollar industry with football. Now I look into the NHL right now and I say to myself, what's up with you guys, right? You had it out with ESPN for 20 years. You are a product of absolutely unscripted sports. I mean, how are you going to script the NHL? Right? I was talking to a coworker about this. You can script and manipulate a lot of basketball and a lot of football, but how do you script the NHL? I just don't know how you do that. You want to talk about athletes who are dedicated to the game and the tradition? It's hockey. Are they making $45 million a year? No. Do they generate that much money? No. I mean, NHL still has a very small footprint, let's say in sports. I mean, they're number 4, right? And NBA, NFL number 1, NBA number 2, MLB is 3, and NHL's 4. Man, like it sucks because hockey's great. Hockey is something that you don't really have to mess around with a lot, right? Who's ever had a controversy on the line judges and the calls in hockey, right? They're good old hockey dudes that are calling the game. You don't really have a lot of that, right? You have umpires who have in baseball a whole nother attitude. You can completely get rid of the home base umpire, the home plate umpire, right? NHL or NFL, are you kidding me? Do you need refs? You know how many chips are already in that ball? You can geofence that whole field and it'll tell you instantly. Like we saw Jahmyr Gibbs in real time go 22 miles an hour, right? And they calc that and clock that as he was running because he's got the ball in his hands. You're telling me that they can't figure out where it lies on what part of the field or if it crosses an upright instantly, right? There's a lot of that kind of conversation you can have, and the argument ends in one way. If you get rid of all that in the NFL, how are you going to script the games? And when we say script, there's obviously not a script, a playbook that all the players read around the table, like the skit you've seen so many times online. But it's Vegas calling down and saying, change that. You can't. It's undeniable, right? We're already getting to it with technology and these cameras where these catches that should be a catch and then going back and an amateur person like anybody online can clip TJ Hawkinson and Travis Kelce and say which one was a catch and which one wasn't. I mean, it's we're past the grainy television. We're past all of the newspapers where we get our information, right? It's harder and harder for these leagues to protect their bottom line, right? And that's what this is. I'm not saying stop watching sports. I'm just saying you got to watch it with a different perspective, right? I'll still go back and watch old school wrestling, and again, if I buy into the storyline and put myself in there and set the expectations, I can still watch, Sting and Hogan at Starrcade '97. I can see, you know what I mean? Like I can suspend reality and put myself in there, but you have to do that watching some of these games, or else you'll drive yourself crazy. You will. So speaking of driving yourself crazy, I've been driving myself crazy thinking about what the Lions are going to do at the deadline. Now, this is an interesting year for us because last year, injuries were driving us to all of our needs. It kind of called out exactly what we needed to do. And that's not good for the Lions because that's not what Brad Holmes likes to do. He doesn't like to have his hand given up. So you're going to go with all the obvious ones, right? Cincinnati, give us Trey Hendrickson. Okay, well, I just don't see Cincinnati mailing that in, right? Although I take them, yeah, sounds great, right? That's an easy no-brainer. Not something Brad Holmes does, guys. He doesn't go for the older guys. He's going to go for some younger talent with a little bit of control and a high upside. And you're going to get that probably more with a name that you're not searching for right now. And that's okay, right? And he may work out, but We made that big trade, not big trade, but we made a trade last year, I should say, that hit the headlines with Zadarius Smith, and that really didn't pan out, right? So it was the obvious move, but sometimes the obvious move is not the right move. I expect Brad to go out and add depth, right? Whether it's on the offensive line or within the secondary or pass rush. This is not a we're going to go get Trey Hendrickson. This isn't the year where we go get Max Crosby, who, again, is not going anywhere, but desperate teams will go out and get guys who are desperate to leave their team. So San Francisco, maybe I could see them doing that. For some strange reason, I can see them making a trade. They're in a little bit more of they're in a completely different situation than we are. So I'm not really buying it. And as much as I think trade deadlines are fun in the NFL, it's not like you'd see in the MLB, right? Major League Baseball, once you hit the trade deadline, it really tells you a lot about where your club's going to go, and just because you don't make a move in football doesn't mean you're not serious a contender, right? We already know that some of the best teams that we've seen make some of the smallest moves, the most boring moves, because they're sticking to the game plan. And the game plan always doesn't mean creating headlines. So expect teams that are really trying to make a splash to go for some of these guys like Trey Hendrickson. You're going to go to the Patriots or an organization that really needs to win their fan base back. Uh, I don't know. I look at a team like the Miami Dolphins, and I've been picking on them hard this year, especially with their yacked out coach who's 75 pounds in capris. But you could pick apart that team. They've got pass rushers all across the board. Jalen Phillips is one. Bradley Chubb, Matt Judon, who we've always had kind of conversations of, should we have Matt Judon here? I think we were a suitor for him, and then he ends up going to Miami because they're going to pay money and avoid taxes. So that team is trash. We already know that. I don't really expect us to cherry pick from the Jets, although they did get their first win. Congrats, AG. But they've got a lot of potential trade value. So there's teams that are heavy for some cap space. I don't see us looking at those teams. I see more Lions moves that aren't going to make Lions fans happy from the headlines. So I'll just give you that. Brad's going to do what Brad does. He is not going to sell the farm on one player. We're not in a position where we need to do that right now, especially I think with DJ Reed coming back at some point this season. He's our number one corner, guys. It's not Terry and Arnold anymore. Well, we've seen what Calvin Shep has done with his whole entire defense. Excuse me. What makes me think there needs to be some big game changer that we have to add to it? I made comments about bringing in guys of veteran leadership just for a voice in the locker room. That's what you do. Right. So anyways, yeah, it's going to be veteran leadership. That's where I think we're going to add. We're not going to make any splashy names when it comes to that. Some teams will do stupid shit. We already know it, right? We've got the Minnesota Vikings, right? What are they going to do? They just lost Carson Wentz. Are you going to see JJ McCarthy come back? I mean, we're playing them, right? That's no secret. Ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday, we're going to be playing the Minnesota Vikings. So they've had some big injuries right now. Their tackle, Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, they're already having issues with the interior. And I didn't want to say it yet, but Jeff Okudah, he's out. I can't believe he's a Viking. We could do a whole episode on the disappointments of Jeff Okudah. But listen, Brian Flores is a good defensive coordinator, and that's something we can't look away from. I think Minnesota is a well-coached team, and I like their staff. Obviously, they're in the division, so fuck them. But right now, NFL.com has their biggest need is cornerback, but I disagree. I think their need is all over the place. Going to be an interesting game, though. I am excited for us to get into some divisional football. I look up these things right now. And really, when it comes down to it, we're getting Brian Branch back. That is probably the most, in my eyes, exciting thing that we got coming for us right now. I missed him. Brian, we missed you a lot, buddy. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Pistons. I just want to bring them up quickly. The season is fresh. I have, how do I say it, mediocre expectations for them this year. I really don't see them getting past the first round. Looked fun last year, but it's not going to happen with this squad. Still don't know what the fuck they're going to do without Jaden Ivey, right? Really curious to see him come back. And then I start to think to myself, Malik Beasley, are you allowed to play for us? we could really use your help right now. I'm going to give them some time for things to settle out. It's not fair for me to even light them up because while they'll have one big game, then they get blown out by 40 points. So, not a championship team, that's for sure. And this is an Oklahoma City Thunder led league right now. I really hope they repeat because if this being LeBron's last year, that would be really awesome. So, big year for Wembyana. That is what I'm more excited about. Been collecting some Wembyana cards, boys and girls. I don't know if you guys are in NBA cards, but yeah, his value tanked. Not tanked, but his value and his hype went down big last year. Not playing, being injured. So him coming out with like, I don't know, 4 games of 40, 20 points. I don't know. It's some stupid, crazy stat. And that's all this is right now with the NBA. With it being rigged, it's just stat after padding stats. So I don't really give a shit. You want to rig it up for Wemby because I need his card value to go up. So we're going to just watch it on the Pistons for right now. Can't really make any bold statements, right? You guys are seeing it. And if you're not, put a game on. Tell me if you can stand to watch the entire game, just one entire game. It's pretty rough. I'm a big basketball fan, but when they're getting beat, they give up. So still haven't really seen that team come alive. But all right, let's get right onto the Minnesota game. This is the one where we're getting back into just normal football. This is week 9 NFL, Sunday. It's a 1:00 game. I feel like, man, for a team that used to have nothing but 1:00 games, fuck, we haven't had a 1:00 game in a while. It's been a lot of prime time. So this is going to be fun because I'll be on, hopefully with Herb Doe and a few of the other boys, live after this game on Sunday on the 2nd of November. We will be live on YouTube and Twitch, which is kind of fun to get onto. We just started getting that on there, the old Twitchy account. I don't know much about it, but we're on there. So check us out. It looks to be a little bit more interactive than YouTube. But yeah, so I'll be on live with the boys. When I say that, I mean hopefully Hermto. After this game, after this Minnesota game, we'll probably do something closer to like after the 4:00 games and before Sunday Night Football and just do some instant reactions. But I encourage you, man, if you're listening right now and you haven't been a part of one of our live episodes, it's fun. It's super engaging. So just so you guys know, the podcast kind of started off as a Lions podcast, but now it's evolved into Detroit sports. We're still running with, hey, listen, I'm going to go live after every Lions game, but we're hoping to do that. So if we're playing meaningful hockey or meaningful basketball or meaningful baseball or some monumental games, we can go live after that. For sure, every Lions game, man, you got to catch us on here live. Hit the notify button, set the reminders, hop in the chat. But okay, so here we are. We're going to or I should say Minnesota's coming here, right? Great way to come off the bye. Gives us time to get healed up. Minnesota comes into town. So they just hit with Carson Wentz, right? It's obviously way too early for the injury report, but he's out. It'll be real curious to see what they do for this game, right? Who are we playing? I believe they're saying JJ's coming back, but what does that look like, right? Who do we know JJ McCarthy to be in the NFL yet? We don't. We've seen some really great games from him. We've seen some duds from him. I enjoyed watching him play in college. He's one of Hitch's favorite quarterbacks. Is JJ McCarthy playing right now? Like I said, too early on the injury report, but with them not making a move, I would assume so. Carson Wentz had season-ending surgery, which I'd say career ending, but the guy keeps finding a way to claw back. So hold on. I'm going to try and get it in the most updated article I can find. There's no way that they're starting Carson Wentz. They have it on here that they're starting Carson Wentz. Okay, so all that bullshit for nothing. It says Vikings are likely starting JJ McCarthy. So again, back to the comment, what kind of JJ McCarthy are we getting? We don't know. All I do know is that our defense, if they're going to show up like they showed up against the last couple of weeks with this pass rush, he better watch out. I mean, we're going to smoke his ass, right? I'm confident. He doesn't scare me as much, I should say, as other mobile quarterbacks. So just because he's so young, there's just not a lot. There's not a lot that he can do from a confidence standpoint, right? Baker scared the shit out of me. I'm not going to lie, dude. That game was a nail biter for me the whole week up to, no disrespect to the Vikings, but that game really scared the fucking shit out of me. So he was sidelined with an ankle sprain, which is so weird. I know he's also got other injuries too, but either way. So this is what you're getting. You're getting JJ McCarthy, or you're going to get somebody they just brought in like in the next couple days. So defense, go out hunting, right? This is your opportunity. The Minnesota Vikings were having a little fun with Carson Wentz, but let's take this opportunity to destroy them. I know Hutchinson has been on a tear and will continue to have another strip sack fumble. I know that Aleem McNeil will bat down 15 balls, right? Like I said in the last video, I think this defense is just starting to find their footing. I think they're really starting to find their fucking identity this year. I know we started out as a hot offense, 40 some points, and we are, but this defense is going to continue to climb to where they figured out that they have to get hot at the right point. So really, really want to see this defense be a defense-led game. This is back at home again at a 1 o'clock game. This is a go to work game, dude. That's all this is, boys. You don't have to show off. Just go to work. Wake up, 1 o'clock, get to Ford Field, smoke the Vikings, bury them down, humble their fans. Their fans talk a lot of shit too, and they'll be there. But I all I can say, Minnesota, is you should have signed Sam Darnold. No, but for real, this is a game that I fully anticipate. The Lions just going to work. Just go to work, boys. Brian Branch is back. I anticipate everybody to be relatively healthy that was on the fence for that last game. Taylor Decker, that's one that I'm real curious to see how they deal with his injury and how they pepper him in, because we have a schedule that's coming up that's going to have some bigger games too. You're if you're going to do anything at the trade deadline that isn't just a corner, go get us some tackles too, boys. Beef up that lineman room. We love our linemen. We love that whole room. We love Hank Fraley, but give them a little bit of help too. Give the corners and give the tackles a little bit of love, a little bit of support, right? Because, man, you look at guys like Myles Garrett and they're getting like 5 sacks a game and they're losing. And it's just, ugh. I feel bad for some of these guys. Actually, no, I don't, because he gets like $43-50 million a year. But it is kind of funny when you think football is all just one player, right? That's why, like, when the Packers went out and got Micah Parsons, I'm like, yeah, but still, like, you need more than that. Like, it has to be a whole team. There has to be continuity. There has to be the right mindset, the right mentality in the NFL to win long term. So Lions minus 8.5. So they anticipate this to be a go to work at home game, right? So they're telling the Lions, we're giving you minus 8.5 to win this. The Lions 5-2 and the Minnesota Vikings will square off this week in week 9, with both teams coming off extended breaks. The Lions riding high after week 7 win on Monday Night Football, convincingly taking down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like those words. This is all from the Pride of Detroit, by the way. Love reading their stuff. Meanwhile, the Vikings are limping in the break after a disastrous Week 8 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football. Now, that's a game that was disastrous. They look like shit. Carson Wentz is out. So with this in mind, it should come to no surprise that the folks over at blank blank sportsbook are leaning towards Detroit at home and have set the opening betting line to Lions minus 8.5. Now they're just going to highlight the Vikings season has been so up and down, and it has been. I mean, dude, they were chasing us hardcore last year with Sam Darnold. They were just right on our tails. But the NFC North is the Lions to lose, like it always is. The Packers, you guys are there, but I'm eager to play you guys again, because that first game is so not right, and I know what kind of team you are, Green Bay. I know that you're not ready yet. Green Bay, you are a fun team. I think Jordan Love is an excellent quarterback. I think you are a fake team, though. You're a wannabe Lions. Your coach wants to be Dan Campbell so bad. He's doing his locker room awards and speeches like Dan Campbell. He can't even shake a stick to Dan Campbell. I mean, he can't even carry Dan Campbell's coffee order from Starbucks after a big dub. So you guys are nothing but pretenders over there in Green Bay. And I'll give it to you. You had the North for like 20 years with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. But Jordan Love doesn't have that FU, pay me kind of gunslinger mentality that Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers have. So he's a great quarterback. And I like your coach. I'm not saying you're a bad team. I'm just saying you're not who you think you are. Go find your own fucking identity is what I'm trying to say, Packers fans. So how that quickly changed over to the Packers, I don't know, because we are playing the Vikings this week. How about this? We'll break it down into like 4 quarters, right? Q1 has been established in the NFL already. Like, right from a financial status, we had a good, nice, healthy Q1. Now we're moving on to Q2, Q3. So when I say that, I mean like this is where I want to see where we're going to be at playing in that Eagles game. Cool with everything right now with where we're at with this Vikings game. I think this is the exact type of going to work game that we need. But now that we're moving into Q2, teams are kind of settling their identity. Admit it, we're about to go play an Eagles team coming up. Is that the same Eagles team that you saw in the beginning of the year and said, shit, Super Bowl champion, Saquon Barkley, is that the Eagles team that you thought we were playing, or are we playing a completely different Eagles team? Because that game to me, dude, that's going to be where the battle shields are back up. That one will be epic. I absolutely hate Philadelphia Eagle fans. I do. They're awful. They're awful. They're awful. But we're in Philly, guys. This is where I'm headed with the script writing stuff, right? So we have a going to work game. We're going to go into Philly November 16th, 8:20 p.m. Prime time, back into prime time again, because we're a prime time team. This is so weird and nice to say. But this is in Kansas City we're playing. The Eagles they're not the darlings. The NFL loves the Eagles, but not like they do Kansas City. Are they punishing the Eagles? Are they going to let us come into Philadelphia and embarrass them? Is that what this is going to be? Is this our payback for what we had to go through in Kansas City? That ritual, that embarrassment ritual that we had to go through in Kansas City to now be anointed Super Bowl champs? I think this November 16th game going into Philadelphia sets the stage up for the Lions to come out on top, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at our teams and points per game, we're third, they're ninth, 30 to 26th. Yards per game, we're eighth, they're 23rd. Time of possession, we're fifth, they're 18th. Total defense sacks, we're fifth, they're 18th. You see where I'm headed on this? We're a much better team than Philadelphia. Much better, completely different. They're on a down year. Not a down year, but they're 6-2. Sorry. They're just not Superman status like they were last year. They were not going to not win it with the players that they had going into the Super Bowl that they were playing, who they were playing, and with the roster that they had. That's over. That's done. It's not their year anymore. So when I look at Philly, this is a big game. This is a big, where do the scriptwriters, where do Vegas, how do the powers to be in the NFL, how do they see us when they set the odds for this one? So think about that, right? Wish I could see into the future and predict everything, but I can sure as hell try. You know, I kind of talked about it earlier on, and I haven't really captured it too much, but the Red Wings. Are you buying the hot start? Or do you think it's just going to fizzle out, right? The streaky Red Wings, as Hermdo calls it. We had a couple conversations in the lives. You had a couple of our daily, our normal fans chime in and say the same thing. They're streaky. Who gives a shit? I really think that I'm telling you, as a entry level back into hockey fan, like I understand the sport, I know the players, but I'm saying as far as like buying into watching it consistently, this team is different. It is 100% real between Finney, Raymond. You've got big, consistent names that are young, that have something to prove, that have a lot of continuity. They're building a nice story here in Detroit, bigger than the Yzer plan, right? So I don't want to get into the nitty gritty too much because there's lots of things that we could pick apart. And I want you to go check out Hermdo's videos because he does a great job pinpointing everything with the Wings. But I'm going to give you my opinion on the Red Wings. And I think this is a team for real to watch. I think if you're looking at your ranking, if you want to buy into all top 4 teams in Detroit right now, you're going to start with the Lions, undoubtedly. And you're going to follow it up with the Red Wings. Buy the second most stock in the Wings right now. God damn it, Pistons and Tigers. You really have me torn because the Pistons haven't really done anything in this post-surgence of last year to really say like, oh, we're so serious, right? And Scott Harris, you've been here just about enough time for me to figure out who you are and what you're doing. That 3-4 Pistons, Tigers, quite honestly, I would probably say the Pistons have a better shot over the Tigers because I feel like the Tigers have shot their wad, have you not, on baseball right now. They've they're going to trade Tarek Skubal. And when they trade Tarek Skubal, all of the bandwagon non-baseball fans that have been going to the games are going to give up. And basically, what they're doing is they're saying that, guys, we don't believe in what we have. Yeah, we have a lot of young talent, and this is what you have when you've got a good coaching staff, that you're going to give him talent and he's going to be competitive all season and get you in the playoffs. But if you really want to win a World Series, if you want to beat the Dodgers, if you want to beat the Blue Jays, you got to throw something at this team. There's got to be some bats. We can't have everybody hitting 240. We just can't. It's impossible. You're never going to get out of the first round or out of a wild card game with your team hitting 240. I don't give a shit. Look at Toronto. Toronto's a perfect example. They've got 2 hitters that are over 300. I'm going to ride that stat out because it fucking matters, right? The Dodgers, their lineup, are you telling me that that whole Dodgers team is a bunch of 240 hitters that hit crush home runs? Oh, they're fucking baseball players. They hit for average. That's why they're at the games. Um, the jury's out right now on what Scott Harris is going to do, but if he trades Tarek Skubal, then I'm all in on Scott Harris. That's all I'm saying. If he locks Tarek Skubal up or gives you the concept that you think that Tarek Skubal is staying and we're going to sign him and he's the next Justin Verlander and you're going to go down some delusional path, you're fucking nuts, dude. You're nuts. That's not how baseball works. We had to reset this whole thing. Getting out of the Cabrera contract, getting out of the Javi contract, getting out of all these bad contracts that we knew were coming. Nothing was unexpected. And it's a different owner. I said it in last week's episode. Chris Ilitch is not Mike Ilitch. He's not going to blindly spend like he's dying because he's not. He's not 95. It wasn't his boyhood dream to own a baseball team. When he was born, he was a billionaire. He owned a baseball team. So now his job is to run it more effectively and more efficiently. I'm sure it is because his dad was known for spending, and that's not how you do things if you're not the LA Dodgers, right? So I'm not really high on the Tigers right now because the jury's out on where their strategy is going to lie. You've got a lot of guys on these 1-year deals, which is fine. That's how we built the Tigers. That's no big deal. But who's going to want to come here? That's the hype I want to see. There's a lot of hype being built and recruited in Detroit with the coaching staff that rebuilt this thing. Who's building the hype for the Tigers right now? Outside of AJ Hinch and anybody that played for Houston. Drop the fucking Houston conversation, Bregman. It's not happening. So Detroit's not a baseball town, right? People went to go play in Toronto to play with Vladdy. I would too. They go to LA because it's LA, but Shohei Ohtani's out there, right? So long story short, I believe in my Pistons just a little bit more. I'm giving them a little bit more time to spend a little bit, make a couple more acquisitions, and add something to this plate that they started to serve us up last year. But put it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify. Follow us on Twitch. Follow us on Netflix because at some point Spotify's going over to Netflix, which is going to be pretty fun. So I want to thank everybody who's been supporting this channel. I think we're going to be able to book some guests. I mentioned a potential second episode with Bob Lesage. He was on a couple, I don't know when, but he seems like he's ready to come back on too. We're going to be doing some streaming with Uncle Hermdo. Excited. Again, go check his channel out. He puts out, outside of the hockey videos that he's been putting out, baseball videos here, and the co-hosting he does. He's got his personal channel, and it's fucking hilarious. Just watch it. Don't take any of it serious or take it all serious. That's up to you, man. But that Hermdo channel is funny. Follow him on YouTube. Hermdo. I'll say it again. Follow him. All right. Thanks for joining us. Everybody, have a good time. We got a good week in sports coming up. This is a fun weekend. Like I said, Lions get a W. The Pistons, give me something, man. Give me something to fall in love with right now. The Red Wings, I believe in you. I really do. One Pride.